Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes from Nintendo and Omega Force is the sort of sequel, sort of prequel, sort of spin-off of 2019's Fire Emblem Three Houses. This entry forgoes the traditional Fire Emblem tactical gameplay in favor of a warrior-style 1 vs 1000 real-time combat. Fire Emblem Three Houses is one of my favorite games on Switch, and I'm also a big fan of warrior-style games in other series. Just in the past year, I played Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild sort of sequel, sort of prequel, sort of spin-off, and Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 sort of sequel, sort of prequel. Well, actually that one is just a sequel. Both of those did a standout job of adapting their source material into a fulfilling follow-up that held the design principles of their respective series close to their heart. Three Hopes is no different in that respect. It adapts the best parts of Three Houses, namely the different story routes to pick from. This review won't show anything past the game's 4th chapter, so there won't be any major spoilers. During the prologue of the game, you are presented with the opportunity to ally yourself with Claude and the Golden Deer, Edelgard and the Red Eagles, or Dimitri and the Blue Lions. Each story shares some basic DNA, but the plot goes completely different directions, giving you different perspectives on certain events and unique missions. It does an exceptional job motivating the player to do multiple playthroughs. So, the gameplay. For those familiar with Fire Emblem, you will feel a little bit at home. The attacks available are unique to each class rather than character, so you can use the systems in place to turn your favorite characters into whatever class you see fit. This may all sound a bit familiar to those who have played Three Houses, and that's because the mechanics are all but the same, with some simplifications to help it align in the new game. The real difference between this game and its predecessor is the moment-to-moment gameplay, and it is a Musou game through and through. The Y button starts basic combos that can be ended with X after a certain number of presses to perform unique special attacks. These attacks are massive and bombastic, and allow you to take out dozens of enemies at once. The vast majority of enemies you face are little more than set dressing to show the scope of the battles, but you'll also regularly encounter enemies with health bars. Those are the real ones that demand attention, and any amount of strategy. Beyond your regular combat options, you also have special attacks that use a set amount of your weapon's durability. These help you to weaken your enemy's defenses and potentially earn a critical rush. After defeating a large enough number of enemies, you are also granted a Warrior Special. When your meter is full, simply press the A button. It'll trigger a massive attack, doing huge damage and creating some of the best spectacle this game has on offer, assuming the camera decides to let you see it. You can also pair units on the battlefield, swapping freely between them and allowing the secondary unit to help out, even contributing to the Warrior Specials. Doing team specials is definitely my favorite part of the battles. They're incredible to watch and so satisfying as you watch absurdly large damage numbers fill the screen. But these fights aren't all button mashing and massive attacks. At any point, you can halt the battle and look at a menu that will be very familiar to anybody with Fire Emblem experience. From said menu, you can give commands to all your units, assigning them to support their allies, seize bases, attack enemies, or anything else the player can do manually. The large maps may feel a touch overwhelming in the initial heat of battle, but being able to assign tasks to your whole team, and more importantly switch freely between them at any time, allows you to express full control over the battlefield. Having several different units out on the field that all control differently and present different advantages makes this game a complete joy to play. The combat can lean somewhat towards the simplistic side, which will justifiably turn some players away, but I hope that the variety of tactical and gameplay options on offer will keep any Fire Emblem or Warriors fan thoroughly entertained. One downside this game has that the original did not is the level of importance of units being reduced. You'll regularly be asked to assign 4 units when entering a quest, which is a lot for an action game. But compared to the dozen or so units you would assign in quests in the original game, it feels like a pretty big downgrade. I feel like this allows certain characters to fall to the wayside if you aren't instantly a fan of their playstyle, which is a shame, as I think the design and the writing is really top-notch for all these characters. The performance is another downside I can't really see past. It's never unforgivably bad, and as long as the camera's cooperating, you'll rarely feel lost, but there is no denying that this game is struggling to run at the desired frame rate. Ultimately, it's something that most players will get used to, but I don't think it's great that we have to get used to it at all. It's not helped by a pretty terrible resolution, one that results in a lot of fuzzy edges and jagged objects. It's something that most fans of the gameplay will be able to overlook, but still needs to be mentioned. This game leans heavily into the story elements as well, and that is where the link with Three Houses is the strongest. Each path presents differing narratives with unique characters, so if you choose to play through more than once, you'll have plenty of new, exciting content to see. The visual identity is closely linked to the original as well, with most scenes looking very similar, albeit with some slight visual upgrades and a swath of excellent new character designs. There's also a lot of very well animated cutscenes, something I thought was lacking in Three Houses. And of course, the support conversations return, allowing characters to have fun, deep conversations with each other and the player character. Speaking of the player character, you have a choice of 2 designs for the character at the start of the game, and this time, the character is fully voiced. It adds a great deal of personality to every scene, making the player character feel less like a silent proxy and more like a real part of this world. Byleth also makes their return as a mysterious villain this time, also fully voiced. These were the most exciting changes to me immediately upon starting, and they elevated this game a great deal. So, there's lots of massive battles and plenty of story content. But what is the connective tissue between these, especially since the game doesn't have the Garreg Mach Monastery serving as a hub between battles? Well, you still have a hub, that being your base camp. And I think its smaller scope actually serves the expedited format of this game very well. You have access to shops, chores to help you bond with your units, a training ground where you can improve your character's class abilities and assign new classes, and all the characters standing around ready to talk to you and receive gifts. Facilities can be upgraded with resources you gathered as battle rewards. And it's not just main quests. When you enter the world map, you have access to several side quests in each chapter, all allowing you to liberate areas and collect rewards. This game has so much heart. It is inspired by its source material in all the best ways, and grows the world of Three Houses incredibly well. The warrior-style gameplay is not for everybody, but if you loved Three Houses and you think you may enjoy this, I implore you to give it a try. The demo available now is extensive and should give you a good idea if it will be a game you'd enjoy. I couldn't get enough of the characters, the wild combat, and the satisfying tactical decision-making. I have played a lot of this game, and I can say for certain I am nowhere near finished with it. I viewed this game the same way I did Persona 5 Strikers and Hyrule Warriors. It's a great reason to revisit a game I love in a new way, with different gameplay options to keep things feeling fresh. If this was the exclusive direction of Fire Emblem going forward, I could understand hesitation. But as a side game and expansion of Three Houses specifically, I think this game is a standout entry in the series. I'm Andrew, and if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to stick around for more like it, or check out my games podcast. Thanks for watching. Bye.